Tyreek Hill is still scorching cornerbacks as one of the best wide receivers in the league. His speed and route running ability have produced over 10,000 yards and 76 touchdowns in just 8 seasons, and a golden jacket is surely on the way. What may surprise you about the Dolphins' 8-time Pro Bowler is that he wasn't taken with a high draft pick. In fact, he had to wait until the 165th pick of the 2016 NFL Draft to hear his name called. 17 wide receivers were taken before him, and here's what happened to all of them. Cory Coleman was the first wide receiver taken in the 2016 NFL Draft. He was a dynamic skill player coming out of Baylor, possessing blazing speed and impressive playmaking ability. He had a skill set that matched up beautifully with the pro game, but his NFL career never lived up to the hype. Coleman struggled with consistency and injuries, making it difficult for him to ever build any momentum on the field. There were flashes in his rookie year, including 104 yards and 2 touchdowns in his second game, but a Week 6 injury to follow that made life very difficult. After posting just 718 yards across his first 2 seasons with Cleveland, Coleman moved to the New York Giants, where he produced even less. Just 5 catches for 71 yards in New York meant that it was the curtains for the first wide receiver taken in the 2016 NFL Draft. It was an absolutely major bust of a pick by Cleveland, which, to be fair, is something that they are fairly well known for. And unfortunately to say so, there are plenty of more busts to come on this list before we even reach our main man. Will Fuller's selection at number 21 started a run on wide receivers with 3 taken in a row. Fuller was a speedster who was one of the best deep threats in the draft. He honestly showed signs of brilliance during his time in Houston, but the dreaded injury bug was always a factor. It seemed as if Fuller spent as much time injured as he did healthy, and that is never going to work in the NFL. After playing 14 games as a rookie, Fuller never managed to play more than 11 games in a season throughout the rest of his career. Despite this though, his yardage totals did gradually increase every year, resulting in a career best 879 yards and 8 touchdowns in 2020 from just 11 games. Unfortunately though, the reason for not completing the 2020 season was because he was found guilty of violating the league's policy on performance-enhancing drugs. He was fined and banned for the last 5 games of the 2020 season, as well as the first game of the 2021 season. Just when Fuller was finding a bit of form, the suspension all but ended his career. He did play 2 games for Miami in 2021, but broke his thumb and never played again. With the next pick in the draft, number 22, Josh Doctson was taken by Washington. Doctson's NFL career is very similar to that of Cory Coleman in the sense that they took just 3 years for him to be labeled a bust. Doctson's career got off to the worst possible start after an Achilles injury kept him out of the preseason. That same injury was then aggravated during warm-ups in week 3, resulting in him missing almost the entire season. In the 2 games he did play, Doctson managed just 2 receptions for 77 yards. He returned healthy to play 31 games across the next 2 seasons for Washington, but he couldn't post more than 532 yards from either. As a first-round draft selection, that is simply just not good enough, triggering his release in 2019. Since then, Doctson has managed to be signed by the Vikings, Jets, and Cardinals, but hasn't made it onto the field for any significant action. And to close out this run of receivers in the first round, we have Laquon Treadwell. I honestly remember this kid coming out of college. Everybody thought he was going to be DK Metcalf. Treadwell was viewed as a reliable option in the first round, and he appeared pretty dejected at falling down to the 23rd pick. And honestly, as it turns out, 23 was a reach for Treadwell. As yes, you guessed it, he turned out to be yet again another bust in the first round. He struggled to put up any respectable numbers as a rookie, with his lack of separation ability proving pretty damning. He managed just 1 catch as a rookie, despite playing in 9 games. This did improve to 20 catches for 200 yards as a sophomore and 35 catches for 302 yards in year 3, but this is a long way behind what the Vikings were after from their first round draft selection. Treadwell was released after the 2019 season, which triggered a tour of 4 different teams over the next 4 seasons. His best came with Jacksonville in 2021 when posting 434 yards, but just 58 yards from his last 2 seasons combined means that his career is pretty much all but over. Now, the second round proved to be much more fruitful for NFL teams selecting wide receivers. Shepard got the ball rolling at pick 40 for the New York Giants. Known for his precise route running ability and reliable hands, Shepard's skill set translated to the NFL better than those who were taken before him. His smaller size meant that being a number 1 wide receiver was never going to be an option. But as a possession receiver, Shepard was effective. He topped 600 yards in 5 of his first 6 seasons in the league, kicking off with an impressive 683 yards in 8 touchdown effort as a rookie. A career high of 872 yards came in year 3, but injuries have meant it has been difficult for Shepard to build proper momentum in his career. Shepard has only managed to play 25 games over the last 3 seasons, resulting in just 577 yards and 3 touchdowns. It appears his time as a productive receiver is over, but he at least managed to earn 8 years in New York, proving to be a useful slot receiver in that time. And finally, yes, finally, we find our first true stud in the draft, with Michael Thomas proving to be a steal at the 47th overall pick. The man out of Ohio State was a beautiful route runner with excellent hands and physicality to match. He immediately showed good chemistry with quarterback Drew Brees, posting an impressive 1,137 yards and 9 touchdowns as a rookie. Thomas had excellent size and football IQ, meaning that he was always in the right place at the right time for his quarterback. He became a favorite target for Brees, resulting in more and more receptions and yardage every single year. Thomas topped 1,000 yards in each of his first 4 seasons, culminating in an incredible 2019 season in which he led the league in receptions. His 149 catches produced 1,725 yards and 9 touchdowns. For his efforts, Thomas was awarded the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year award, which sat nicely along his 2 first-team All-Pro and 3 Pro Bowl selections. Unfortunately though, what was looking like a potential Hall of Fame career was derailed when injuries and off-field controversy hit in 2020. The result has been 3 seasons with just 20 games and no more than 500 yards per season. It honestly remains to be seen if Thomas can return to his incredible early career form. And the final wide receiver taken in the second round was Tyler Boyd, who became the newest member of the Cincinnati Bengals. And I mean, honestly, Boyd was just an all-around solid receiver with good size, great route running ability, and amazing hands. These are the things that will generally serve you well in the NFL, and it has done so for Tyler Boyd. It took a while for Boyd to find his feet in the league, but he broke out nicely in 2018 with his first 1,000 yard season. He backed this up 1 year later by posting another 1,000 yards from 90 receptions. And whilst he hasn't managed to top 1,000 yards since that 2019 season, Boyd has been a mark of consistency for Cincinnati. He has spent 8 years as a Bengal and only posted less than 600 yards once, which was due to injury. Tyler Boyd's future currently hangs in the balance as an expected free agent, but it remains to see who he lines up for in 2024. And as great as the second round was, it starts to get a little bit messy for the remaining receivers taken. You have guys like Braxton Miller and Latante Carew, who were taken at 85th and 84th overall, with neither making it beyond their 3rd season. Chris Moore was taken at 107th overall by the Baltimore Ravens. He at least managed to stick around until the 2023 season, posting a career best 548 yards for Houston in 2022 and a respectable 424 yards for Tennessee in 2023. The guy isn't going to win you any games, but it appears that the former 4th rounder has done enough to keep himself relevant as a 3rd or 4th wide receiver on the depth chart. Also taken in the 4th round was Malcolm Mitchell, who started a run of 3 misses before our next hit. Mitchell showed promise as a rookie, but knee injuries brought an early end to his career. The 114th pick of the draft was used on Ricardo Lewis by the Cleveland Browns, who collected 562 yards across his first 2 seasons in Cleveland before being discarded and not playing another meaningful snap anywhere in the NFL. 3 picks later, though, we got Pharaoh Cooper becoming a Los Angeles Ram, their second wide receiver taken in the draft. I mean, Cooper has bounced around in the league, but has not been able to establish himself as anything more than a special teams player. And then at pick 126, we had Kansas City. And no, they weren't looking at Tyreek Hill, but Demarcus Robinson was the first wide receiver taken by the Chiefs in 2016. Robinson's production falls well behind that of Hill, but he managed to make himself useful. Robinson spent 6 years in Kansas City, playing a minor role in the offense, but popping up with the odd big play. He has since spent 1 season apiece with the Ravens and Rams, where he looks like to have solidified himself as a useful complementary piece and injury fill-in. And this is where we enter the 5th round of the draft, which begins with the selection of Tyjae Spears by the Tennessee Titans. There were flashes from Sharp early, as he posted 522 yards and 2 touchdowns in his rookie year, but this was unfortunately as good as it got though, as his production declined over the years until he eventually played his last meaningful down in 2021. And the last 2 selections before Tyreek Hill were pretty dismal too. Jordan Payton became a Cleveland Brown with the 154th overall pick, continuing a trend of bad selections from them. He managed just 1 catch for 3 yards in his career. Trevor Davis was then taken 2 picks before Tyreek Hill with the 163rd overall selection. Davis was used more of a return man, but did last 4 years in the league. He only had 205 yards to show for it though. And I mean, like, hell, after seeing all the underwhelming talent that went before Tyreek Hill in the 2016 draft, you may be scratching your head as to why he fell so far. Well, many believe that Hill wouldn't be actually selected at all because of a domestic abuse arrest. Kansas City Chiefs head coach Andy Reid has a track record of picking up players with questionable off-field records, and in this instance, it proved to be a stroke of genius. After posting a steady 593 yards as a rookie, Tyreek Hill has exploded in the season since. He has passed the 1,000 yard mark in 6 of his last 7 seasons, culminating in 10,139 yards in 16 touchdowns. He has 5 first-team All-Pro selections and 8 Pro Bowls, in addition to leading the league in yards and touchdowns in 2023. His biggest prize, though, came in the 2019 season, when Hill played a pivotal role in helping the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl. He now dons the turquoise of the Miami Dolphins, where he has continued to exert his dominance in the receiving game. In 2 seasons as a Dolphin, Hill has produced 3,509 yards and 20 touchdowns. Like, this dude is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There is absolutely no doubt that Tyreek Hill is the best receiver taken in the 2016 NFL draft, and it's fair to argue that he is on the Hall of Fame trajectory.